Coming up in news tonight, there may be another slight delay with the implementation of NHI. Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says the government is operating in darkness. Police recruits receive special recognition for their exceptional performance, plus hundreds of young professionals training to take on green jobs. Welcome to Our News. I'm Dana Smith. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight, there may be another slight delay with the implementation of national health insurance, according to Health Minister Dr. Perry Gomez. This as Prime Minister Perry Christie suggests the government is more focused on hurricane relief efforts. NHI's first phase, primary care services, was originally slated to roll out in April, but was pushed back to January. And many have questioned if that deadline will be met.
Gomez spoke to reporters on the sidelines of a tour of a potential PHA storage facility yesterday. When asked for a new timeline on NHI implementation, Gomez said, "I don't have a fixed time, but there may be a slight delay." He was also asked whether the government would implement this phase of NHI before the end of its term. He was a bit more confident on that front, stating, "Yes, no question about that. It will be done in this term." Gomez was asked the timeline for NHI after Christie, when asked the same question, did not answer directly. Rather, he suggested hurricane recovery efforts are the government's primary focus.
Just lastly, is that still doable, primary care in January, early next year,
well,
despite Matthew?
Let me put it this way. Matthew obviously poses a problem in that a lot of the facilities have had some levels of damage. We have done the assessment for government buildings. We have a committee that I chair have met with respect to immediate repairs that will affect. In Parliament, I indicated that I'm deeply concerned about impacts on the economy, particularly when it comes to Grand Bahama.
Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Delon Brennan had said less than 2 weeks ago the implementation of primary care benefits was still set for the beginning of 2017, even though so far medical services providers have yet to sign on to the scheme and a public insurer has not been yet established. Although he did not give a definitive timeline for NHI, Christie said government continues to push for an early 2017 rollout.
We've set target dates for early next year for implementation of primary care in terms of national health insurance. And so we are working, I think, resolutely towards a major outcome when it comes to health care and the promotion of health care.
Christie acknowledged there's still work left to be done, and he wants to ensure everything is running efficiently.
The whole idea of national health insurance is that the facilities must be up to date, integrated with the technology as this is. So all of the clinics must be advanced in terms of that. They must also have the same level of security, so when people go to those clinics in late hours, they're able to be not only serviced properly, but they also be protected in terms of being in these facilities. There's lots of work to be done in that regard.
Primary care is a basic level of health care that includes programs directed at the promotion of health, early diagnosis, and disease prevention. It covers laboratory work, x-rays, mammograms, and prostate exams, and certain medications. Well, as Bahamians continue to wait for NHI to be implemented, Free National Movement Senator Dr. Dwayne Sands says he has this word of advice for Bahamians concerning NHI.
I think I made a few suggestions to the Bahamian public. I told them, first of all, don't hold your breath. And secondly, hold on to your health insurance. I repeat those recommendations now. I think NHI is just simply not ready, in large part because this administration is unable to execute anything properly.
Sands says the initial phase is being held up because the PLP administration has yet to complete the upgrades recommended by health professionals like himself.
You take NHI and you're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars of the people's money. But you ain't got the IT system working right. You still don't have the NIB system working well enough. You haven't engaged the providers yet. You haven't completed the upgrades to the Princess Margaret Hospital or the Rand Memorial Hospital or Sandlands Rehabilitation Center. So this is failure of this administration, led by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, to execute. Nothing more, nothing less.
Now, while Sands says he will continue to support the notion of a national health insurance plan, he cannot see it happening anytime soon.
All the consultants were foreign, at least in the original part. I am hopeful. I attended a meeting this morning. I am hopeful that there will be some relief for a struggling Bahamian public in the near future. I reiterate my support for NHI. I reiterate that the people desperately need some relief.
In other news tonight, the Christie administration continues to operate in darkness, according to opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis, who is taking the government to task for failing to release further information about the future of Baha Mar. Last week, Hong Kong-based company Chow Tai Fook Enterprises announced it has entered into negotiations in relation to the ownership of Baha Mar. Minnis said it's now time for the government to speak up.
The PLP are demonstrating repeatedly that it was only a slogan, we believe in Bahamians. They have demonstrated that they do not believe in Bahamians.
The office of the Prime Minister had said Baha Mar's assets have been sold to Perfect Luck, but neither the government, the Exim Bank, or Perfect Luck have confirmed any specifics surrounding the sale. At the time, Minnis called on Christie to reveal the details of the secret deal he struck with his Chinese allies, but was met with silence. CTFE later announced it applied to the government for approval as a proposed acquirer of Baha Mar by way of acquisition of Perfect Luck. But again, the Prime Minister and his cabinet have yet to confirm any details.
It goes all back to trust and secrecy. This government is acting under darkness.
Back in August, Minnis warned an F&M administration would cancel any aspect of government's agreements with the Exim Bank that it deems not to be in the best interests of Bahamians. And Minnis said this week that warning is still on the table.
We have said, and I say again, that our contracts would be reviewed. And those that are not of benefit to the Bahamian populace will be dealt with. So I send all on warning that Bahamians come first, and we will ensure that Bahamians come first. After all, it's our country. This is not China. This is the Bahamas.
Minnis said all contracts in the matter must be transparent, and his government would, quote, expose everything.
When we became government in 1992, we brought forth the government of the sunshine, meaning that we wanted transparency and for the Bahamian populace to be able to read and see everything for themselves. Since then, there's a cloud of darkness that came with the PLP. And the Bahamians are now looking for rescue and light, which means light must shine again into the country and remove the darkness that the government is bringing forth.
Nassau Guardian Business reported on Thursday Baha Mar may not be completed and opened as soon as the government hopes. According to a subcontractor, Baha Mar could take another $1 billion and will not be done until December 2017 at the earliest. The subcontractor said the development is not livable and mold is an issue. While prominent businessman Dionisio de Aguilar says the threat of a foreign takeover is real for the Bahamas. In an interview with Our News, de Aguilar said for years he's been watching the relationship between the Bahamas and China grow into what it is today. However, he said it appears to be getting a little scary as the Bahamas appears to be falling victim to a foreign power. Kyle Joaquin reports.
The tentacles of the Chinese government are beginning to wrap themselves around our country and take control of our country.
Strong words from de Aguilar, who is now the Free National Movement's candidate for the Montague constituency. He said in doing his walkabouts through the area, the concern is the same.
And their biggest concern is the Chinese are going to come in, as they have done in many countries around the world. They rip every single fish out of the sea, and they go back to China, and they leave us with nothing. This is all that we have. These are our resources. Andros is ecologically very sensitive, and so it's very, very important that we ensure that no foreign country, certainly of the size of China, or as in the past, if you remember Korea, be allowed to come into our very sensitive fishing grounds and just strip it bare and leave nothing for Bahamians.
This past week, the proposal for a $2.1 billion agri-fisheries venture between the Bahamas and China was leaked to the Nassau Guardian. The venture would call for thousands of acres of crown land in Andros, as well as certain fishing rights for Chinese companies. And despite his letter to the Bahamas ambassador to China giving him the green light to further pursue the venture was also printed in the local daily, Agriculture Minister V. Alfred Gray has denied that there is even a proposal. Well, according to Diagler, there's a certain level of secrecy when it comes to the government's relationship with China.
This is what worries me about the Bahama deal. We just have not seen the details of the deal. They often say to myself and to Mr. Ismailian, they always say, show me the money. My response to that is show me the deal, because we just don't know what's going on.
The details surrounding the Bahamar deal remains sealed up in court. The government projects an opening for Bahamar for March of 2017. But Diagler, who is a former board member, said he doesn't think the Prime Minister has a full understanding of what has to be done.
Mr. Christie is famous for promising things that he cannot deliver. He's famous for that. He always says it ain't long now, but then he fails to deliver. He says that we have a deal with this company. If you read the fine print, they're in negotiations. They haven't even finalized the deal with the Cheng family yet. So that is, we don't know where that stands. That deal has to be finalized. I don't know. I haven't been on the site. I don't see much activity. Maybe there is activity inside the building, but I don't see armies of Chinese workers working on that site trying to bring about a speedy repair of that property.
But on a wider scale, as he said before, Diagler said he's worried that a foreign power is now in the process of taking over the country.
And so it's very, very important that we don't allow ourselves to be taken over indirectly by a foreign power. And that is what I feel is happening here. The Chinese government, you know, they started off with the gifts. We got the stadium. They gave us some scholarships. They invited, I remember when I was in the Chamber of Commerce, they would say, come to China 2 weeks, fully paid trip to see what's going on. And so they started with that. They gave us some low-cost loans. And now that needs to bear some fruit for them.
Reporting for Our News Weekend, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
When Our News returns, new police recruits receive special recognition for their exceptional performance. Stay with us.